important place to start. But I want to talk, I mean, obviously I want to talk from an angle of like revenge is something that really is not healthy, and why that might be. Like, what does revenge kind of keep us involved in? So I want to use a passage from the book Secrets of Heaven to open the conversation. This is the book Secrets of Heaven, 3060. Truth devoid of goodness. But factual truth that holds truth and truth that holds goodness is a well-filled container. Desire born of love is what binds them together, each within the next, because love is spiritual union. So it's again very thick theological language, but the principle of it's pretty simple. It's the idea that we have facts. You have the facts of life, and the fact might be this person hurt us. Plain and simple. In front of a jury, clearly, jury would say they hurt us. So that's the fact. And then underneath this fact, when we start to look at the facts, underneath that comes this idea of truth. You know, there's a deeper truth there. And that deeper truth kind of holds the fact, you know, that deeper truth of life and life with a capital L. And then all of that in turn is held by the biggest container, which is goodness. And so, like, the way life is supposed to work, we're supposed to have this deep container, this deep well of life that's held by goodness and love, spiritual love that binds it all together. That's able to hold both the truth of the matter and then the specific facts, and that keeps them all aligned because it's all done from a sense of love. Now, what does revenge do? Well, if we're really thinking, I got to get that person back, or I hope they get theirs, or whatever, what it does, it keeps us in this weird relationship where now our healing is based on them, and it's based on what they do. And we're sort of looking for having this weird energy exchange, or this weird sort of life karma exchange where there's something that's sort of going to be sucked out of them and given to us, and that's going to make us feel rectified. I don't know that is always true. Loved the book, I'm totally forgetting her name, Sister Helen Prejean, Dead Man Walking. And, she talks about, like, does a family member watching someone be executed, I don't know if it's a little over the top, but does a family member watching somebody be executed, does that bring back their loved one? Does that make them feel complete? Does that make them feel justice served? Pretty questionable there, friends. So we got to be super careful with this, because revenge it just gets us in this weird dance. It may actually, in this strange way, draw our healing even closer and more sort of transactionally based on this other person and how they react and what comes out of their lives. Got to be careful of that. Now, does that mean no accountability? Absolutely not. Like, you must have accountability. Accountability and consequences can sometimes be the most loving thing that we can offer up there into the world. But what is it for most of sort of your run-of-the-mill things, where we might be like, oh, I hope they get theirs. What might we do to kind of pull us back a little bit? And one of the ways to look at that, with this passage, again, dealing with the idea that love is spiritual union, is to really come back to just self-respect. All right, so I'm not going to put the solution out there on them. I'm not going to try to manufacture that there's a solution somehow where I get enough vengeance, and then that will somehow like feedback and we'll all be okay. I'll be okay over here. That's weird kind of equation stuff. Instead, I'm just going to say, all right, I'm going to have self-respect here. This is very different than self-aggrandizement. It's self-respect. Just like, I'm just me. I'm just going to be me. I don't know what went on. I will ask for accountability, and then I'm just going to let it go. I'm just going to let it go. It's coming from this really, really deep place, and it makes a huge difference. And we see Jesus living that. I mean, in a famous Bible passage, Jesus is great at quoting things. Quotes a lot of things from the Old Testament, specifically from the book of Isaiah. And there's a very famous one where he's quoting, and then he stops the quote. Everybody thinks that Jesus quoted things verbatim. He did not, by the way, interestingly. And this is one such example where there's a big passage. He's quoting. And then the line where he stops and does not say anything is the line where he says, vengeance is mine, thus saith the Lord. He does not go there. As soon as he gets to that line, he skips it. And it is kind of interesting, right? Because that's really true. And it doesn't feel like it in the moment. In a moment, it can feel like this passive sort of like, what? You just asked me just to pull back into a form of self-respect but not get engaged. Like, I mean, it sounds crazy. But it works. It really does work. Again, we can ask for accountability, but vengeance, be super careful. So let's have a week, friends, where we're trying to stay out of that drama that is just spinning around in our heads all the time. That drama that is just waiting for someone else to get theirs. Just let it go. There's nothing there for you. There's nothing there for you spiritually. And instead try as best you can to hold other people with the very best goodness you can. And that, again, may ask for accountability on their part. Very best goodness we have, and allow that to hold the truth and the facts of the case, but that let goodness and love be the container of it all. So I hope that makes sense, dear friends. And this is a tough one. It's a tough one to practice, and wishing you all the very best in the week ahead. And just, again, thank you so much for joining us. It's great to be back here in the States after a wonderful trip to South Africa. Great to be joining with all of you amazing folks who join us every day on 10 Minutes of Morning Calm. So with that, dear friends, let's shift gears here. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a little breath, little meditation, and little prayer. So we're going to start, excuse my reach here, we're going to start with listening to the prayer bell, and then we'll go into a little meditation. Be still and know that I am God. Be still and know that I am. Be still and know that I. Be still and know that. Be still and know. Be still and. Be still. Be. Our Father, who art in the heavens, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, as in heaven, so upon the earth. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we also forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory forever. Amen. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face to shine upon you and be gracious unto you. May the Lord lift up his countenance upon you, bring you peace, and bring you home. Amen. All right, dear friends, let's give a quick little look over here. And again, I hope you all have a wonderful, wonderful week and weekend coming up in your lives. It's all very good on this end. All right, computer is slow today. Oh my goodness. All right. Well, friends, the computer's way too slow, so we'll put in written comments. So listen, dear friends, God bless all you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll